It was a quiet, unsettling night at St. Mark's Hospital. The dim hallways were bathed in the flickering glow of fluorescent lights, and the only sound was the rhythmic ticking of the wall clock. Nina, a newly hired night nurse, had been assigned to the fourth floor. This floor was known for being eerily still, despite being full of comatose patients who were kept alive by the beeps and hums of their machines. People whispered about this floor. Some claimed it was cursed, others thought it was haunted. But Nina, pragmatic and new to the job, dismissed these stories as nothing more than hospital gossip. Tonight, however, as she walked past room 404, an icy sensation crept down her spine. She'd glanced at the chart earlier. Mr. Harlow, the man inside, had been in a coma for 3 years after a terrible car accident. No family visited him anymore, and he had become just another patient the staff attended to as part of their routine. But something was different tonight. As Nina passed the door, she heard a faint tapping sound. It was a rhythmic, deliberate noise, like nails drumming on wood. She paused, hesitated, and decided to investigate. Slowly, she opened the door to Mr. Harlow's room. The dim light from the machines cast long, eerie shadows across the room. Mr. Harlow lay motionless in bed, his chest rising and falling in sync with the soft beeps of the machines. The tapping, however, continued, this time louder, coming from the far corner of the room. Nina approached cautiously, but when she reached the corner, the sound abruptly stopped. Her heart raced, but she shook her head, trying to convince herself it was just her imagination. Hospitals, especially at night, had a way of playing tricks on the mind. She turned to leave, but a soft, desperate whisper froze her in place. "Help me!" The voice was faint but unmistakable. Nina's breath caught in her throat as she spun around, searching the room. Mr. Harlow remained motionless, his eyes closed, his expression unchanging. The monitors next to his bed showed no unusual activity, yet the voice came again, this time closer and more urgent. "Help me!" Nina felt a coldness creeping over her, and when she exhaled, her breath appeared in the frigid air. Her hands trembled as she backed out of the room. She was about to call for help when she noticed the monitor through the window. Mr. Harlow's heart rate was spiking, the lines on the screen jagged and chaotic. Forgetting the eerie whispers, Nina rushed back into the room to stabilize him. But just as she reached for the emergency button, she felt something icy graze her hand. She looked down and gasped in horror. Standing beside the bed was a pale, ghostly figure. Mr. Harlow, but not the man lying in the bed. His spirit was there, translucent and filled with anguish. "Help me," the spirit whispered again, its face contorted in fear. "I can't leave. It won't let me." Nina stumbled back, her mind racing. The air in the room had grown thick, as if something malevolent was closing in on her. The lights above flickered, and the machines around Mr. Harlow went wild, beeping and flashing in a frenzy. The ghost reached out, and as his hand passed through Nina's arm, a wave of icy cold washed over her. "Please," he begged, "you have to stop it." "Stop what?" Nina managed to ask, her voice shaky and filled with fear. Before the spirit could answer, the door slammed shut with a deafening bang. Nina spun around, her heart pounding. The room's temperature plummeted further, and when she glanced at the mirror on the wall, her blood turned to ice. In the reflection behind her stood a dark, looming figure. Its form was indistinct, like a living shadow, and its eyes glowed a sickly yellow. The entity's mouth stretched into a twisted, unnatural grin. It moved toward her with slow, deliberate steps, and Nina felt a wave of dread wash over her, so strong that she could barely breathe. This was what Mr. Harlow's spirit had feared. This dark entity was keeping him trapped, preventing him from moving on, feeding on his soul. Nina wanted to scream, but the terror was too great. The shadowy figure extended long, dark fingers toward her, and as they made contact, Nina felt a sharp, searing pain in her chest. It was as if something invisible was squeezing her heart, draining her of life. Her vision blurred, and she collapsed to the floor, gasping for air. The last thing she saw before darkness consumed her was Mr. Harlow's spirit, his eyes filled with sorrow and regret, slowly fading into nothingness. Nina woke hours later, disoriented and confused, in a brightly lit hospital room. A doctor informed her that she had been found unconscious in the hallway and had been moved to a different floor for observation. They told her there were no signs of anything unusual, but Nina knew better. She could still feel the coldness deep in her bones, a lingering chill that would not leave her. And as she sat in bed, staring out at the morning sun streaming through the windows, she felt a dark whisper in her mind, a promise that she would never be free. Just as it had claimed Mr. Harlow, the entity had marked her as well. It was only a matter of time before it returned to finish what it had started. On the 4th floor of St. Mark's Hospital, the lights flickered once more. The shadow still lurked, waiting for its next victim.